Today, we're taking a dive into a pressing issue that rarely makes the headlines: the crisis within the UK prison service. We will be exploring the shocking state of the UK prisons. Overcrowding, understaffing and rising violence are just a few of the problems plaguing the system. Let's uncover the hidden truths behind this crisis.
The system is running red hot in terms of capacity. It's running about 99%.
It is no secret that Britain's prisons are in crisis, buckling under increasing pressure for some time.
Just over 500 spaces left across the entire prison estate. The population behind bars in Britain is at an all-time high, and it's estimated to be costing taxpayers a whopping £47,000 per year per prisoner.
Problems with violence, with drugs, and also self-harm and suicide. So really, the prisons are in a pretty bad state.
Right, new data has revealed a shocking rise in police prison deployment. Specialist police units were sent into the jails of this country the equivalent of more than twice a day last year.
Violence has increased in our prisons, both prisoners on prisoner and prisoners on staff.
The UK's prison population has soared beyond capacity, with over 80,000 inmates and growing. Prisons are now operating at nearly 120% capacity. Cells designed for one person are housing two, sometimes three. So, what are some of the government solutions?
Offshoring prisoners that we have. Is it a viable option to send prisoners to other countries?
The apparently convicted rapists and burglars could be spared jail from next week after judges were told that the country's prisons are full.
Overcrowding means that very often you have got restricted regimes, there's a lack of any purposeful activity. That leads to frustration, and often that's directed at the staff that are having to try and contain this, when in some cases they are short-numbered. Of course, we at the same time have a problem with retention of experienced staff.
This is Wandsworth.
Warfare with politics in jail. I got sliced down outside the face. Been attacked by 15 people, 3 people. My arm broke.
If you cut staff by 30%, if you increase your prisoner numbers, you're creating a recipe for disaster.
Prisoners were in effect policing themselves for much of the time.
Understaffing is another critical problem. With a 15% shortfall in prison officers, existing staff are overworked and underpaid, struggling to maintain control and ensure safety.
One of the major problems is staff retention. Nearly half of all officers who left the service last year had been on staff for less than 3 years.
And it's because I care. I want to make a difference. I believe my staff want to make a difference. We're struggling. We haven't got the staff.
With the greatest respect, they're so short-staffed in here. This place can't run. It's unsafe. Even a lot of the staff that are in here are in fear.
We've been saying for a long time there's been a lack of investment in the system, there's been a lack of staff. Birmingham's lost over 30 staff in the last few weeks through resignations, people just not wanting to work there. It's such a difficult and dangerous job.
He sucker punched me, grabbed me, pulled me into the cell, got hold of my button, and that's the last I remember.
Violence within prisons has skyrocketed. Inmate-on-inmate assaults, attacks on our staff, and riots are becoming alarmingly frequent.
Police have regained control of one of Britain's biggest jails hours after a huge riot broke out. Up to 600 inmates took over 4 wings of the privately run prison in Birmingham. Staff were forced to withdraw when trouble erupted early on Friday morning, according to security firm G4S, which runs the facility. The body representing prison officers says that the UK's jails are in a parlous state.
Mental health services are grossly inadequate. With limited access to treatment, many inmates' conditions worsen, leading to a vicious cycle of violence and self-harm.
I've worked with people who have struggled to get across into the mental health care system. And unfortunately, this isn't people who can be managed with their mental health needs in prison. This is people who really their needs are very acute, they cannot be safely managed and they pose risks to themselves.
The lack of resources and proper management exacerbates these issues.
I mean, prison wouldn't be good for anyone's mental health, but if you're already in a mental health crisis, then it's about the worst place you could possibly be, and really it should never have been considered as a place of safety.
And I arrived at the jail and the team said, you've got to go down and look at House Block 4, you've got to go and see what's going on in there. And what we found was absolutely horrific.
Staff, sometimes without the right training, are being expected to care for those with psychosis and paranoid delusions. Some have been injured by violent patients. Today's report says action is needed to reduce harm to patients, but also those struggling to look after them.
So, what can be done to address this crisis? Experts suggest several solutions, like reducing the population of the prisons through alternative sentencing, increasing funding for staffing and mental health services, and investing in rehabilitation programs to reduce reoffending rates.
The prison service has been on a recruitment campaign.
Search prison jobs now.
Labour has announced it will bring together prison governors, local employers to create employment councils that are going to create and support links into the local community, which can provide training and jobs to support offenders. They're also talking about more prison places. What do you make of this plan? Can it work?
The UK prison service crisis is a complex issue with no easy solutions. But by understanding the problems and advocating for change, we can hope for a system that truly rehabilitates inmates and supports them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.